Jones.
Here.
Barton. Warren.
Here.
Opperly.
Here.
Butterfield.
Here.
Spar.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from July. There's no amendments. Do I hear a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the July 27th meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Okay, before tonight's meeting, council's going to read a short statement.
Thank you. Public hearings are being held tonight pursuant to published notice. Any person wishing to address the board will be sworn in by our court reporter and will give their testimony under oath or affirmation. At the conclusion of the public hearing, the zoning board will make its determination. 4 yes votes are required to obtain approval. The purpose of the public hearing is for the zoning board to hear testimony regarding whether the proposed variance meets the required legal standards. The public hearing is not intended as an opportunity to comment generally on whether a proposed project is or is not a good idea. Relevant factors for the zoning board to consider are set by state law and by village code. Those relevant factors include whether the denial of a variance would cause a particular hardship to the owner because of conditions of the specific property involved, which are unique and not generally applicable to other properties in a zoning district, whether the proposed variance is requested purely for economic gain, whether any particular difficulties have been caused by the applicant, whether granting the variance will be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property in the area, and whether the proposed variance will impair adequate light or air to adjacent properties, cause traffic problems, impair property values, or endanger public safety. Testimony offered should be limited to those relevant factors I've explained. Rules of order govern the conduct of tonight's public hearing. No one should speak unless and until recognized by the chair, and any speaker should follow the directions of our chair.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll start off with our first case tonight. Is number 20-04. Ryan and Keely Letourneau are seeking a variance for a property located at 420 East Jefferson Street. The petitioner seeks a variance from ordinance number 78-31 relative to setback requirements. The petitioner is requesting an installation of a 6-foot privacy fence on the front lot line that fronts 5th Avenue. The required front setback is 12.5 inch. The resulting variance will be a 12.5 inch. Who's ever going to speak this case, come before the court reporter and she'll swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but
If you just want to step to the podium and you can give a description of what you're petitioning for.
Okay, we are petitioning for a variance regarding the setback of what is technically our backyard, but the way that we are set up, it's a corner lot, so I believe it's considered the setback is a either side or front yard setback. And the reason we're asking for the variance is because where the current setback would put the fence really kind of impedes on our backyard, and it takes away a large portion of what would be usable backyard space that we would like to fence in for our kids and our dogs and our family enjoyment. We have done a lot to improve the property since we purchased it, to raise the property values of the house and those around it. So we feel that this would also do that. We obviously would use a nice looking fence, nothing that would detract from any kind of property values. And we there would be no hindrance on the city because it is far enough off Jefferson Street that there would be no traffic pattern flow or any kind of hindrance to the traffic. Nobody would be able to not see where they're going and whatnot. So yeah, I think that's it.
The house, it does look nice, and he done a nice job with it. I just, on as far as putting the fence in, your neighbor's already has his established, and you're gonna come out another 12 feet.
Correct.
I don't know if that's fair for him. I know corner lots are, and I know that Brad had told you when you came in that your fence had to be in line with his. You didn't know that?
It's 12 and a half feet is
No.
the required setback.
And we're actually, I'm sorry, go ahead,
No,
I
it's
did not
half
mean
the
to.
distance of the building setback. So the building setback on Fifth Avenue would be 25 feet, so the fence could be 12 and a half feet.
Where our fence could go without the setback is actually farther out.
That's
than
farther
his
this
fence.
way than his.
I don't know where the neighbor sits
He sits back.
exactly.
He sits by where our pool starts.
Yeah, he's by
But
your
the,
pool.
but the neighbor, that would be, where he has his, I don't know what the circumstances on.
Right.
But he could have been that 12 and a
A
half
little
feet as
further.
well.
Okay. I mean, that's my only concern. I don't, I know it wouldn't be a hardship if you had to move the fence. I have a pool too, but I mean, to ask that much, to go that far, I just wish you would have came first and asked or something,
Well, I guess I didn't realize it, with COVID and everything, I mean, everything was all up in the air. And we've been talking to Brad since, April, I think it was, about everything. So I guess I didn't realize that, and to put it into perspective, even if we hadn't put a pool in, we would have asked for the variance because it is technically our only backyard space.
Yeah.
And it is blocked by like a driveway. So it's really the only area that we have. And with having kids and dogs and stuff, we would have wanted to fence it. So it's really not about the pool. I mean, yeah, we love the pool and whatnot, but we'd love to be able to have that extra space inside our fenced-in backyard.
Right.
And we have talked to those neighbors that are behind us. I mean, they've no problem with us doing it and whatnot.
Where the fence crosses the drive, are you gonna have a gate there, or what is?
We've decided actually not to cross the drive with it. We're gonna go just up along the driveway, so it will only fence in our backyard.
Okay. So you'll take it to the garage?
Yes.
Then?
And you haven't decided on what type of fence yet, whether it's going to be the white plastic or?
No, we were looking at a nice wood fence, but we're not 100% sure. With COVID and everything, it's really difficult to get really any kind of answers for anything right now. We will stay in line with the what we've done. I don't know if you've seen the rest of the house, but what we've done with the rest, we will
Yeah, it looks-
stay in line with that. So our goal is to make it look, cohesive with the front of the property as well.
Before I go any further, does anybody in the audience wish to comment this case? Want to come up front and get sworn in?
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony
Keely,
you're about to give
if you want to, you can just have a seat for a minute.
Sure.
Yes, I did.
I apologize. Sorry.
Just
Good
state
evening.
your name and address.
My name is Philip Geyer. I live at 519 East Jefferson Street and my wife and I have for the past 20 years. I am strongly opposed to a variance allowing the fence to go out that far. We are in effect catty corner from the house, and yes, they have done a magnificent job fixing up the house. It looks great. The landscaping is spot on. Couldn't be happier for those additions to the neighborhood. But my complaints with moving the fence out that far, for one, it will disrupt the continuity of the setbacks of the houses, the Johnsons and theirs, which are the two houses on Fifth Street at Jefferson. And with that jutting out that way, I think it would, one, be an eyesore. Two, looking where they want to put that fence that completely obstructs the Johnsons backing out of their driveway until they're actually in the street, before they could see another car come in. I think it's a safety issue, especially with the number of young kids that we see playing over at the Johnson and several other areas. I mean, they already have a fire pit and chairs set up in the area they plan to fence in, which to me seems like somebody put the cart well before the horse. And I had kind of a problem with that also. If the lot wasn't big enough, again, it's not none of my business, but perhaps not such a large swimming pool should have gone in to take up all of the space in that backyard area. In addition to that, there is always a full-size pickup truck parked on 5th Street, which would further obstruct the view of anyone backing out of the Johnson's driveway or, in my opinion, coming down the street. So I don't know what's going to happen when the snow starts to fall and the plows need to go by. But those are our objections to the variance, and we ask that it be denied. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Phil. Okay.
Can I ask
Yeah,
a
Mary?
question?
Would you want to ask Phil?
To the homeowner?
Or you want to ask
To the homeowner.
Keely? Okay. Keely, if you want to just step up to the podium again.
So can you just explain, after hearing his testimony, the Johnsons, is that the house behind you?
Yes,
And you've talked to them?
yes,
And they've not had any objections?
no. And they're fully aware of what we're doing and have no complaints at all, or no objections at all.
Okay, that was my question.
And can I speak to his objections or no?
Sure.
Yeah.
Just to a couple of his points, as like with the truck parked in the street in the snow and stuff, I mean, that will be parked in the driveway. We're not, again, like I said, we're not crossing over the driveway. So the driveway will still be parked in. And then again, as you know, the Johnsons, like I said, we've spoke to them and they have no objections to us.
Do you think it would be a safety hazard for them backing out of their drive?
There's still a large portion of yard and whatnot that we aren't, or there's still 12, 13 feet that from where our fence will be to the street. So I can't say yes or no because I haven't looked at that angle, but I don't believe so. And I feel like if they thought that there would be, they would be here.
When I drove by, I'd say that was probably my biggest concern, is their drive, and then would that be, and it's hard to visualize.
Right.
Just by pulling in and seeing. But
Right.
that'd be probably my biggest concern too.
Okay. And that is, something I didn't look at, but I mean, there's still, like I said, a large area there of space for them, 12 or so feet of them for them to be able to see. The fire pit, that's not a fire pit. It's blocks that we put in the yard. We weren't putting the cart before the horse or anything. That's just a few blocks that we put up so that we could have a little fire in there. It's nothing permanent. And the, again, like I said, our fence would already be where the setback is farther out from where the Johnsons have theirs anyway.
Where would that fence actually be then? From that?
So to be clear, if you went to the back of curb towards the house, it's 11.5 feet.
Right.
And that's where the fence would fall.
Okay, where would that fall legally then? If
That is the
another-
property line.
But
So if you
That's
went
the
12 and a
variance.
half feet towards the house, then it's just going to be a few feet from the house.
that's where it would be.
Correct.
With our setbacks, our
Yes.
requirements right now.
And they do have so when someone gets a pool permit, I require a fence permit to accompany that. And so they do have a fence permit to be placed in that spot. So in order for them to get the pool permit, they had to get the fence permit, and it was allowed where it can be allowed. Does that make sense?
To that point, then, how much distance would it be from the pool to the fence that you approved that would be within the variance?
I don't know the distance from the pool to the fence. Is it?
I mean, is it?
I mean, it's got to be, the pool sits behind the house. So if you're looking at it,
It's hard to tell.
It is actually
It's about 10
behind.
feet from the
About 10 feet from the
So you'd have 10
if you
feet.
did, if you had to follow the current
About,
variance.
yeah, and that's not exact. It might be a little less, but about that, yes.
My deal is, and I know you want this, but if we start this with the corner lots, it's just gonna, if they want it, somebody else comes, we start a precedence, and that was just my whole deal about coming out so far on these corner lots. 'Cause we've had corner lots, some have been very unique and pie shaped, weird configurations. I know it's not on the main feeder street, it's on a side.
The biggest thing that I feel is the biggest hindrance is where our garage is and how that driveway separates. If we had that space as backyard space, it'd be different. But since that was there before, and we had originally didn't know the setback, so we had thought that whole side,
Right.
backyard was our backyard.
Yeah.
We didn't know it was considered a front or side or whatever yard. So.
So instead of let's just hypothetically say she has 10 feet from that pool to the lot. Now you're gonna have 22 feet.
Yeah.
Pretty much, I think, if that's what it would.
If
It was
those numbers
12.
are
I mean,
accurate.
yeah, somewhere around in there. But that's just my whole thing. Is I don't want to. I don't see a hardship. That's the biggest thing I don't see as far as having a pool and only having 10 feet versus 20 feet. But I know you'd want, everybody wants to have a big fenced-in backyard. But that's the real problem with the corner lot.
One procedural suggestion, if I may. We started doing this a little bit, and at least on the Plan Commission level at our Zoom meetings, it's something that I would suggest we maybe go to going forward, and that is kind of dividing up your testimony portion of the proceeding with debate amongst the members of the board and a final vote. Certainly as chair, you're free to deviate from this procedure if you desire, but one suggestion might be that unless there's further questions of this petitioner or unless somebody else wants to testify about it, you could bring this public hearing to conclusion and then be able to have more debate amongst yourselves. That kind of bifurcates your factual findings from receiving the testimony. Other point, and this is just a weight of evidence, but on our rules of procedure, unless somebody's here to testify, statements about their position aren't evidentiary. So that would include written statements or testimony about what somebody else said. So the testimony about what the neighbor's position on, unfortunately, under your rules of procedure, shouldn't be weighed by the board.
Okay. So with that, if there's no more questions, the petitioner, Phil, you want to ask another question? Okay, Keely, we'll have you sit down, Phil, and then we'll discuss this.
Thank you. If it would help the board, I printed off from the Tazewell County mapping website an overhead view of the houses in question. I strongly disagree with the statement that there will be 10 or 12 feet. I've walked over there, I've looked at it. I think the distance from the curb to where the fence would be is probably 8 feet or less. So in my opinion, it really intrudes out into the property.
So there was a property survey done, and from the back of curb to the property line is 11 and a half feet.
Okay, but
Now,
Are we
from
talking about
that
the back of
point
the
to the
house?
pool, I do not know. I have not measured that.
okay, I'm talking about the east side of the property, not the back of the property or not the front of the property.
Fifth Avenue side?
Yes, the Fifth Avenue side.
Yes, from the back of curb to the property line is 11 and a half feet.
Okay. I don't know what that does for it. Would anyone care to see this?
You're more than welcome to take a look
Oh, okay.
right there.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen, I guess you
There
probably
was a
never
survey included in the packet that shows.
Yeah, you'll only receive a notification, and if you want to come up here, Phil, this is what, well, it's not what you're proposing now, but
Yes, I did. One's hanging and one's loose. Mr. Wormley put this on.
this is what they're proposing. 11.5 off the curb to the property line, but not going past her. They're gonna stop it in here, so.
This shows it going across the driveway?
Yeah, it's not going to, she stated that she's not gonna do that, so
Okay.
disregard that portion of it.
Okay.
It'll just say stop at the driveway or something.
I still think that is going to disturb the continuity of the setbacks of the houses.
Okay.
And as you mentioned, I think it could be a slippery slope. If I was granted, then
Yeah,
it could create
all right,
that.
okay, thank you, thank you. All right, with that, how's the board? Anybody have any questions between us?
Can I just say one last thing?
Yes, yes, you can.
I
just wanted to say real quick about the continuity, his point. The house right across 5th Street, across catty corner from us, so on 5th Street, has a fence all the way out to the sidewalk. So there's already a fence that is all the way out to this property line or sidewalk area on the same part of the street that we're on. So,
Is that the house that's for sale right now?
no, behind it.
Oh, behind it.
Yeah, not on Jefferson, the one on 5th and Adams.
Oh, okay.
So, but just right in that same,
Yeah.
right across from us. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to put
Okay.
that out there. Thank you.
So do you mind if can I make something clear
Yeah.
then? An ornamental fence up to 42 inches can be on a property line. So that's the difference here with a 6-foot privacy fence and a 42-inch ornamental type fence. I believe the fence that Ms. Letourneau is speaking of is a chain link fence, which is probably 48 inches, and it is on the property line. So it is non-conforming. I don't know. It looks like it's been there a very long time. So it's existing non-conforming. Okay, but it's still a chain link fence.
Yeah.
So it's not technically an ornamental fence.
I think that the position of the driveway does make a difference too, because of what she stated. If you look here, you can see where's the garage and the driveway coming behind the house, separating the house from the pool area. So once the pool is in, that does leave minimal space for children and dogs. It's unfortunate where the driveway is, I guess. So which is out of their control.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions?
Well, I agree with you. I mean, Mr. Turno, I think it'd be great to have that. You know, I would want it if I was in your position too, but for us, I mean, he's correct. Without identifying a hardship, it's hard for us to pass that. It still leaves you 10 feet. It's not quite the amount of space you wanted back there. I understand that. I mean, like I said, I would also want that, but I guess that's where it's tough for me to identify that and the precedent it sets.
Yeah, I feel I'm with you. Does anybody else have any questions? If not, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we grant case number 20-04 under 1010-2C as stated.
I hear a second.
Second.
Hopperly?
Roll, please.
Butterfield?
No.
Handback?
No.
Jones?
No.
Spar?
Yes.
Warham?
No.
Hopperly?
No.
Fortunately, it failed. I hope you can see where we're coming from. It does look really nice, but I guess we'll have to go to the original setback. Thank you. Okay, our next case is let's see here, 20-05. Gary Hunt, Michelle Hunt are seeking a variance for a property located at 99 Maple Ridge Drive. The petitioner seeks a variance from ordinance number 93-30 relative to the permitted location of accessory structure. The accessory structures are permitted in the rear yard only. The request would allow for an in-ground swimming pool, pool deck, and pergola to be in the side yard. Whoever's going to speak to this case, if you want to come up and...
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and
Okay, I think everybody got, in the packet, there should be 2 drawings. And I have a third drawing, which is actually my drawing, which is just a little modification if you want one on each.
Yeah, we can take
Table.
it. Before we get started, if you just state your name and address.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
please.
Yeah, my name's Gary Hunt. Live at 99 Maple Ridge Drive with my wife, Shelley Hunt. And It's not quite as professionally done as that from Bella's Landscaping, but my rendition on a few minor changes from what they had originally came up with. So I'm not for sure if in that packet there was a drawing that depicts the layout of the house or not, but basically it's an L-shaped ranch. So our rear entry door is to the side of the house, to the west. And to the north, even if we had a door, to the north is very heavy timber behind Maple Ridge Drive. And also, there's also a basement, the wall retaining system by like Bick's basement. So there's already metal in the ground right there, even if the timber wasn't there. So what we're just asking is for the variance for the pool in the side yard, obviously. We've worked with Bella's coming up with these designs, so we want to have it heavily landscaped. Definitely don't want to do anything to detract from the neighborhood. And if you're going down the street, when you look to the north, anywhere along that street, what you're basically seeing is timber and landscaping. It'd still be the same. We're not really changing that view other than bringing it forward. The idea behind that is the fence we use will be like a wrought iron fence probably, so we're trying to make the fence as invisible within that landscaping as possible. Obviously the landscaping will be on the inside of the fence, but I think it should pretty well cover it, or camouflage the fence, so to speak.
Now, I did see transformer there, so is there a utility easement through that side yard, any?
Well, there's a 6-foot utility easement, so, but he wouldn't be allowed to be any closer than that 6 feet.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
The
And
fence,
we do have our utilities, cable, ITVs line, and the electrical will have to be moved due to the position of the pool. And so we're
Yeah.
aware of that, and they're aware of that also.
And it is a big side yard. It's
Right.
just we've never granted, but that is,
Well, there
it's all
is.
unique. Your neighbors is back far. And,
Yeah, and there is actually homes here in Morton with the pool on the side yard,
Yeah.
so.
So the fence goes all the way from where it says fence, all the way down the side, around the pool there, and then buck up to the house?
That's correct. When they came up with the original drawing, which is the pretty one, the design for the fence coming around that seating area that's on the north side, the configuration of that fence hadn't exactly been determined.
Okay.
And that is actually about at least a 5-foot drop in elevation down to the tan area to the north, and then with another retaining wall down there. So the drawing that I did, if you look on that, what we basically came up with, we're trying to move the pool as far to the north as we can. So we're still trying to move it back as far as we can without being under the trees. And making, instead of a curved wall at the end and another seating area, that would be basically not an infinity pool, but a faux edge right there with a 5-foot drop with columns. The black squares on the north on my drawing are actually columns. So there'll be walls come over to the columns on the diagonals. The fence will come in at 90 degrees to that from the east and the west. And then that leaves that 5-foot, basically you have a 5-foot drop, which satisfies the requirement for the safety barrier. But then we'll go with the glass, like what you see out west, the glass panels between the columns, like what you'd see in California on the hillside, so they don't obstruct their view of the,
Yeah.
So we don't want to, likewise, we didn't want to obstruct our view of the timber and all that, when it goes to the north.
Brad, what are the setbacks? Do you have the measurements for like what his, not the opposite side of this one, where the pool's going? Let's just say he wanted to build a room addition, and they wanted to build out.
oh, so so building setback, he could be a minimum of 7 feet to the side property line.
Okay. That's the way I was looking at it. I said, if you just want to put a room addition there, you could have put a room addition there, and not being that obstructive. And I don't think the pool doesn't seem like you guys are gonna be wild that crazy. Could be though.
Probably not.
But I think there's enough distance there,
Right.
you know, with bushes, and I don't know what you're putting in for bushes here. Are they?
Yeah, on the
Arborvitae?
side, what's shown in the green there, I'm not for sure exactly what their plan is to the south there towards the street. But for our sake, I'd rather, and I'm sure she would too, rather have the privacy
Yeah.
from that. So whether the pool's there or not, if we still put a patio there
Yeah.
and wanted to make it private, it'd still be the same thing, pool or not. Along the west side, what they show in green is what we'd like to have is the taller arborvitaes, you know, and closely spaced enough that, again, you wouldn't see the fence.
Yeah.
Or at least try to camouflage the fence the best we
Yeah,
can.
no, I think it looked really nice.
Brad, they've got enough. They're allowed these many accessory structures with whatever they've got in their backyard.
Yeah, so they do not exceed the 60% rule. So 60% of your, technically it's your rear yard cannot have accessory structures or any structure more than 60%. But now the variance is kind of into the side yard,
Yeah.
so yeah. But yes, they do. It's actually a very large lot, but it's not usable because of the woods and ravine.
With that, do we have any more questions? Or
Does anybody?
does anybody wish to comment this case? Okay. I'm sorry, you were obscured. I didn't see it sitting back there. Thank you. With nobody else, does anybody have a question? If not, you'll hear a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we grant case number 20-05 under 1010-2C as stated.
Second.
Vote, please.
Handback,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Spar,
Yes.
Warham,
Yes.
Opperly,
Yes.
Butterfield,
Yes.
approved.
They can start tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Well, get a permit first.
Yeah.
That always works better. Thank you. Appreciate it. With that, Nick, do you have any comment? No. Okay. Brad? No.
Nothing tonight.
Nothing? Do we have? All right. Well, with that, I just want to go back to that first case. I just didn't. I know they're probably not happy, but I don't know if we had an option there, but.
I think it, like was stated, without seeing that they were going to be placed in some kind of a hardship, it's pretty
Yeah.
hard to approve that variance.
All right. With that, do I hear a motion for adjournment?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned.
Thank you.